We're getting comfy. We're taking off the shoes. We're getting the snacks. I think, listen, anyone that doesn't have loads of snacks in their car, you're missing out, because I just restocked my snacks and they're not that exciting, to be honest, but I'm excited about them. Fix my hair. Okay. Now let's get into the pod. Welcome back to the pod, guys. It's episode 2, and in this episode I kind of wanted to do a bit of a live update, as well as talk about something that I probably haven't spoken about before, but I think with something that I've got coming out soon, it makes sense to talk about it. So yeah, let's just get into the story. To start off with, I want to kind of touch on my disability and how it affects me. So my cerebral palsy is very affected by sound, temperature, and just like changes of environment. So one thing that I really struggle with is seasons. So like the transition from summer to winter is so annoyingly hard, and there's an obvious change in my body, and the way that I describe it is like when it's almost like, how do I describe it? It's kind of like when a butterfly is like wants what do you call it? Like a worm. What are they called? Basically, it's like a transformation in my body. So, in the summer, I'm very like, not loose, but everything is a lot easier for me. And I didn't find moving and basically everything is just a lot easier than in winter. So when it gets colder, or when it gets darker in the days, and like more wet and windy, and that transition from like the England summer to the England winter, my body just totally changes. And sometimes it changes over weeks, sometimes it takes one day. This year it literally took like probably an hour. Like I woke up and I was feeling fine, and then an hour later it was like I couldn't control my body. My brain was telling my body what to do, but my body just wasn't reacting, and it was so frustrating. And I think what's really difficult is to kind of, I say to everyone, like, I know it's gonna happen. Every year I expect it to happen, but every year I'm still equally as disappointed, frustrated, and just annoyed that it happens, and that I don't always know how to deal with it, because no matter what I do, it's never how my body is in summer. So it's hard to kind of deal with that transition, and I feel like I can try different things to keep my body supple and soft, but it's at a cost of other things. So the number one thing that I do in winter is up my medication, which I hate taking medication. I think for about 3 years I was drug free, as it might say. I don't know how you describe it, but I feel like over my whole life I've tried many of the drugs that have been suggested. A lot of them work, but at a cost of other things. So one of the side effects of taking the higher affecting drugs are that I get locked jaws, so I can't speak, which is very annoying. And my muscles can lock in places, or it can do the opposite effect where I'm so relaxed and loose that I can't do as much because my body's gone the opposite direction. And usually also I get really exhausted. The drugs just make me really tired, so I end up not being able to do much anyway. So it's kind of it's always like, do I do it or do I not do it? Like, do I just faith that this is like my body and this is the life that I live? Or do I attempt to make it better and have these side effects and then live with those? So it's always a constant battle in my mind of what I'm going to do. But this year, I feel like it's going to be a lot more difficult for me because in England we've had such a beautiful summer that has been really warm and really sunny and my body loves it. But I know that now when we enter winter, it's going to be a much bigger transition. So I expect my body to react like more harshly. So I'm definitely going to try and up my exercise, because exercise keeps my muscles looser, even though I hate going to the gym. Like, I enjoy it when I'm there, but actually getting myself to go to the gym is like a mental exercise in itself. But I'm going to try and go to the gym. I'm going to up my medication a little bit and see if that helps. And I'm also just going to use all my home devices and the aids that help me to stay relaxed. So I have different exercise machines at home that help just stretch my muscles and keep them relaxed. So I'm going to try and actually use them a lot more. I think that's also another thing that I'm really bad at, actually. I know what can help my body, but I just don't do it. I'd rather sit and suffer and push myself through it rather than help myself and make my life easier. I feel like it's almost cheating if I do that, but I know it's not, but I feel like subconsciously thinking that way. But I think that it's also to do with the fact that I lived most of my childhood being in denial that I had a disability. I feel like that is still kind of in me somewhere. So when it comes to actually helping myself and treating, well, not even treating, but just helping myself to feel better in my body, I kind of see it as cheating, because I was so in denial that my disability even existed that I lived a lot of my life not doing much about it. So I think that's still kind of subconsciously in there. But what I really wanted to touch on today was self-confidence and how I kind of learned to accept the body that I'm in and how I came to appreciate it and actually love my body. I feel like that's something that I really struggled with when I was younger. But the reason that I want to talk about it is because in the next month I have a book coming out with Rebel Girls, and in the book, the book is called Dear Rebels, and it's basically a book that features 125 women and their stories, tips, life stories. It's kind of like a diary entry, so it's very vulnerable and personal to each person. And my piece in there was all about self-realization and acceptance and kind of learning to love the body that I'm in. And yeah, as that comes out next month, I thought I would touch on it more because it's a subject that I don't really talk about enough, I think. And I think maybe the more I talk about it, the more I will be more accepting of it. So that's what I'm going to try and do today. Okay, so as I was saying, when I was, well, let's start from the start. So I think I've had my disability since I was born. I don't know any different. I only know the body that I'm in. But it has changed over the years, even though my condition is the same. it has changed, but I think it's changed due to the environment and the circumstances that I've been in. So let's start with probably when I was in like nursery and primary school. I feel like, first of all, I knew that I was different, but I didn't really know the extent of it because the environment that I was in also adapted for me to be able to function and do everything that I wanted to do. I didn't find anything difficult because I didn't find anything difficult just because of that environment, and also everyone around me was a similar age to like 5 years old, probably 11 years old, where I think children are more accepting and less judgmental, and I think they're more curious than anything. So if they have questions, they're more willing to ask those questions rather than sit back and judge, which is why I really love working with children, because they just say what they think and they're very honest and brutal with their opinions. But I quite like that honest brutality, and I find it better because then I get to educate them on what they're curious about rather than them judging immediately and not knowing what they want to know. So I definitely feel like those earlier years of my childhood, I knew that I was disabled and different, but I didn't know the extent of it. And I think I was overall just like really happy because I had no reason not to be, I think. But then when I went to secondary school, first of all, I was the first severely disabled student in the school, I think, ever. So me going to that school took a lot of planning and a lot of conversations, many meetings with pastoral and access support and the head teacher, and loads of meetings all the time. They definitely tried their best to make me feel included and make sure that I could do things, but it was still like that was the first time where I thought, not even thought, but where I realised that I'm not as able as everyone else, and I needed a lot more support than what I realised. And I guess, for example, some of the things that I struggled with I can't even think. The things that I struggled with most in secondary school were like writing my notes, getting to class on time because it was quite a big building and you have to walk from class to class, whereas in primary school all of your classes are in the same classroom and then the teacher will just come to your class. The number one problem that I had at secondary school was PE class. That was constant stress, constant. I got to a point where I literally just stopped going because there was no point in me being there. A lot of the time, well, first of all, my school was like a sport and language school, so all the students had to be enrolled in the sport and 2 languages. When I entered the school, I asked them whether I could have horse riding as my sport, because that is one sport that I did and that I was good at and that I wanted to progress in and do professionally. But they didn't allow me to do that because it would mean that I'd have to be taken out of school. Even though the PE class was 2 hours long and we had to be driven off site to a field somewhere to do netball, football, hockey, rugby, every kind of sport, they kind of did that. But I couldn't do any of that. So most of the time I was the referee or just sitting on the sidelines and like cheering everyone on. What made me laugh even more is that they would make me a referee, I have no idea how to play these sports. I have no idea of the rules or anything. So, like, they would have me referee, but I have no idea. So, I would just, even as a referee, I would just sit and watch because I literally had no clue what they were meant to be doing. But I guess the other frustrating thing was that even though I wasn't playing, I would still have to get changed into my PE kit and change back into my uniform afterwards, which may seem pretty normal for anyone else, but someone with a disability, that takes a lot of effort and time, and they want me to always do it like within 20 seconds, and that just isn't possible. So it always felt like a waste of time for me when I could have been either writing and training as a equestrian or just doing more schoolwork. I'd rather sit in the library for 2 hours than sit in the field getting cold and making my body worse. But that is what they opted for. I think it wasn't until probably year 10 or 11 that I stopped turning up to those lessons and I would just do whatever I want. I think a few times they said that I would get detention, but I just didn't show up to that either because I just thought it was so fucked up. But anyway, as I was saying, in that kind of era of me being in secondary school, that was definitely when I felt most different to everyone else. Then, that was also the time where I created Tegan's Story, which was my first film that I made in 2012. And the reason that I made that film was because when I joined the school, every student there didn't know how to, like, they considered me like an alien. I was so unknown to them. They didn't know how to talk to me. They didn't know how to be my friends. They didn't know what to say. And it was getting really hard and frustrating. And I just didn't want to be at that school anymore because I really struggled to make friends because of it. And school wouldn't help. The school's solution to that problem was to select 5 people and bring them into a meeting and tell them that they had to be my friends, which I thought was so wrong. And thankfully they were really genuine nice girls because they came up to me and told me that this happened and that they thought it was really odd that it was being forced on them. And I was like, yeah, I really don't want you to feel forced to be my friend. That's really weird and strange. It was so weird, and I still hate the teacher that did that because I just think it was that's the wrong approach to even do. But it was another teacher's idea that gave the idea of doing Tegan's film but in a lower scale. So I initially did a presentation for my class on myself, and she made everyone. Oh my god, that scared me. Sorry, my camera decided to then cut out because it said that I've been recording for too long. But as I was saying, Tegan editing, interrupting, but what I was going to say was that she made us do a presentation to the whole class, and everyone had to do one, and they had to introduce themselves and tell them about their life at home and what they get up to, and then at the end of the class, and not wanting to offend, but they still got to ask what they wanted to ask. So that was kind of how Tegan's Story, the film, started, but at a low scale. In secondary school, I think first of all, I think I didn't realise any of this at the time because I think you just didn't realise it at the time until you look back and reminisce that you kind of realise what happened and how you felt that ill. But in secondary school, it was really contradicting because the school made me feel more disabled, but my friends made me feel less disabled. I think because they kind of always looked after me, but also treated me as if I wasn't disabled. It kind of enforced that in denial of not quite realising how disabled I was. And one thing that I really always struggle with is feeling like I was a person that was stuck in the wrong body. And it's something that I always thought about, like, what if I wasn't disabled? What was I, like, how would I turn out? What would I be like as a person without my disability? It's something that I was always curious about and always wrote about in my journal, but I never really went into actually dealing with that and processing that thought. But it definitely showed throughout my life. There was a lot of years where I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I didn't like pictures of myself. I didn't like any kind of thing of myself because I just felt like my body wasn't me. When I looked at myself, I didn't see me. I saw someone that I really didn't like. And that was quite hard, actually, because you don't really know how to process or get around that by yourself. So I feel like it took me quite a while. I think it wasn't until I was probably 16, 17 is when my body definitely changed since I was 11. Not much has changed, to be honest, but I feel like there are parts of me that I liked the most. They weren't there anymore, so it made it even more difficult for me to love and accept my body and actually feel beautiful and confident. And I can't really remember when in my life that this happened, but I remember seeing a video at some point around 17 or 18 where it was this woman saying, like, you as a person can choose whether you live a miserable life or you could choose to be happy and live a beautiful life. So in that moment I kind of thought, like, my disability is something that I can't change. It's not ever going to get better. It's more likely to get worse. And if it does, I need to be able to accept it and live with what it is. And even like when I left secondary school and I knew that I'd be going to university, I knew that in order to actually survive that and get through that, I need to be happy with who I am. And I was also in this time where, like, I just started dating, and, like, in order to date you really have to be confident in yourself because I feel like not it's hard, but not even, like, I feel like that when I was around that age, if I was rejected in any way, I pinned that all on my disability, and I saw that as the reason why people didn't like me, rather than, I mean, someone could not like me because of my personality or because of, I don't know, any other factor of my life, but I blamed all rejection on the fact that I was disabled and that I was different. So that, of course, affected my confidence loads. But as I was saying, after hearing that lady's quote of, like, your mentality is so important to you being happy, that was the day that I decided that I'm not going to be so hard on myself. And the one thing that I really wanted to be able to do was to look myself in the mirror and be happy with what I was seeing. So I decided to Well, first of all, you can't really rush these things, because if you rush it, it's just not going to go well. What I decided to do was, sorry, I can't tell you the tips because they are in the book Dear Rebel by Rebel Girls, which is now out and available online. You're welcome to buy it and read my tips in there, but I'm not allowed to tell you because they are a secret and they are in the book, so you have to go read it to see. If you want to read something new and learn about other people, then I definitely recommend, and it's available now. The link in the bio. Go buy it, please. Okay, back to the Tegan. I just did that for profit, but I still do that. But I did that for a long time, and without me knowing, that kind of gave me a lot more confidence in myself, and it also helped me to accept that my body is what it is. And I can't change it, I can't make it fit the societal norm, but I'm still equally as beautiful as the other girls that I was comparing myself to. So that was definitely a big moment in my life when I decided to kind of stop torturing myself and making myself feel less than. Just choose to appreciate what I had and learn to love it. And that's still what I do to this day, to be honest, because there are days where my body is an absolute shit show, and I hate how it's being, I hate how it looks, and I feel like without that I probably would have went down a really dark hole, because it's so easy to not love. It's so easy to not love the things that you don't love and to not see them as good things. Especially when you're young and growing and rely on the advice of friends and admirers and everything. Another thing that really helped with my confidence and accepting my disability is everything that I've done probably since Tegan's story, which is a lot of press, a lot of media, a lot of public speaking, a lot of films, directing, producing, starring in them. Everything that I do work-wise, it kind of helped me to feel more confident in myself. And then seeing the audience's reactions to what I'm doing, it really helped me to just feel, when you have a disability, you're automatically stereotyped into being less than, or not as intelligent, or not as beautiful, not as attractive, not as personable, and there's always those assumptions around. So I feel like in life I'm constantly trying to prove them wrong, and with my work a lot of the time that is my subconscious feeling of me just wanting to feel accepted for who I am. So when my work is seen and it does well, it definitely makes me feel a lot better in myself, because everything in life is such an argument when you have a disability. Even just getting what I'm entitled to, every year I have to prove that I'm just as disabled as I was last year, or that my disability is getting worse, or that I deserve to have this, or I deserve to have that. And I gotta do tests, and I gotta do scans, and I gotta have my brain looked at. And most of the time, none of this actually benefits me, but I'm just like a guinea pig to society and the government, and they kind of use it to reset what they do for the next year. So it's really annoying that I'm always living a life that is constant arguing and proving myself about everything. One thing that I really have struggled with for a long time is the assumption that because I have a disability, I can't be sexy or like, I don't even know how to describe it, but I'm 22 years old, which people don't always believe because one, I look a lot younger, and two, people assume that because of my physical disability, I'm mentally the age of like a 5-year-old. So they struggle to believe that I can be sexy and 22 years old, which is kind of hilarious but also frustrating. Tegan editing, but I wanted to interrupt and kind of explain this a little bit more because I feel like at this point in the podcast I was getting a bit tired and not really saying what I wanted to say. But what I was trying to say was that people often assume that I'm much younger than what I am, and that it's stupid to stereotype around people with disability not having the same mental capacity as someone else, or you're not as intelligent as your age, or you might be, I don't even know how to describe it, but basically a lot of people assume that I have the mental intelligence of a 5-year-old. So then when I decided to get a bit scandalous, a bit sexy, put on a nice little skirt, nice dress, people were kind of confused because they're like, well, I feel like they assume that I'm underage and that's like a scandalous thing to do. People forget that I am a 22-year-old woman, but they also forget that I am that beyond my disability. So like, if I wanted to dress a certain way, I shouldn't not be able to because I'm disabled and because it makes other people feel uncomfortable. I should be able to do it because I like it and I like to wear what I want to wear. But there is that kind of stereotype and double standard that like the disabled man could easily go and be shirtless in the gym and people are like, yay, go him. But if I were to wear like a shorter skirt or go out in a bikini on the beach or whatever, people are like, you shouldn't be showing your body like that. Which is such a double standard because most of the time we are the same age and we have the same disability, and yet the male always gets like a better treatment and like they're not stereotyped as much. Yeah, so sometimes I just really want to be like Tegan, the young 22-year-old enjoying her life, having fun, whatever, rather than like Tegan, the disabled girl that is wearing a nice dress. You know what I mean? But I also know that I'm not going to get it because my disability is not something that I can hide. But ultimately I feel like the more confident I am in myself and my body and the way that I look, the less I'm going to get judged for it because it's almost like the more confident I am, the more you can't hate me. So that's kind of my thought process with that. Because I've always struggled to accept my body for how it is and how I look. For a lot of my life, I only wore men's clothes because it was baggy and big, and I could hide behind the clothes, and my body wasn't as obvious. When I got older, then I started to go out with like friends and go clubbing and go out, and that's when I kind of started wearing more dresses and like more tighter clothing and kind of showing off my body a bit more, and I felt a bit more confident in that kind of era, and I really liked it. But I still was a bit scared because it's very obvious. My disability is very obvious when I wear tight clothing, so it was still something I was quite insecure about. But when I'm wearing that, I can't hide. I have no choice but to be confident and like bold and out there and be like, here I am. It's really strange because it's really contradicting. Like, obviously I can't wear that in normal life. I can't walk out the door in a bikini, but it's something that I really love doing and wearing because it gives me such confidence that's why this year I was so excited to take part in a shoot for a new adaptive underwear line which will be coming out next year, and I did 2 days of shooting in Manchester, and there was two looks and also 2 other disabled models, and let me just say, I've never felt more beautiful in my life. I felt so beautiful, I felt so comfortable in my skin, I felt so appreciated and loved by everyone there. That is the most confident I've ever felt in my life, because one, I was being accepted for who I am. Everyone there knew my body was different and still loved it. I felt so confident in my body because, well, I had no choice to, but I also I'm in a place now where I love the way that my body looks. I look really athletic and strong, but also quite curvy, which I like. And yeah, I just never felt so confident in my life. And that just reaffirmed to me that it just reaffirmed to me that I'm doing good at the moment, and that all the work that I've done over the year to actually love my body and love the way it looks is working. And although my body now is being an absolute pain in the ass because of the change going into winter, I still have that feeling to kind of fall back on, that the body that I love is still there, it's just having a bit of a blip, and I'll get through it, and it's still there, I just need to kind of focus on that. But yeah, I just never felt so confident, and I felt like I've not really had a moment in my life like that before, where I've looked at myself and thought, wow, I feel beautiful. I love the way that I look. It was just really beautiful, actually. And yeah, I'm hoping that I can do that again sometime. Yeah, I just feel really comfortable and confident in my body's appearance and how I see myself and how I look. Yeah. My next challenge is, well, not even that. Even though I love the way that I look and I feel so confident, I still have some insecurities around that. And it's not even how I feel about myself, it's how I think other people feel about my body. So, for example, when it comes to dating and meeting new people that I want to go on dates with or date or romantic with or whatever, that side of my life I still find really difficult, because I meet new people, but in my mind I still think, oh, they're judging me for the way that I look, or they don't know how to be with someone with a disability, or I don't know. It's always an underlying thought, because I think because I judged myself for it for so long, I just think everyone else must be judging me for it as well. Obviously, I didn't know that, but that's just an automatic thought that I have. And I also feel like it's really hard to date with a disability, because I never know when to disclose it. I feel like I could put it in my profile, but then not a lot of people actually read the profile. Or I could tell them when we're talking, or I could tell them when we go on a date. But I feel like there's never a good time to say. So I find it really hard to actually tell people about it, because I think I am a bit scared of the reaction. Is not something that I kind of want to deal with. But I think in order for me to be more confident in that situation, I need to be more confident in myself, and I need to be in a place where I can fully love myself, and no matter what anyone said or reacted or anything that happened, I need to come out of that situation still loving myself and not letting someone else then affect my confidence afterwards. But it's just something that I'm working on and that I need to get better at, but it's still like, that just goes to show that you're continuously working on like self-love and self-appreciation, and it's something that just needs continuous work. So I guess to conclude this episode, I just want to say that if you are someone that would like to work on their self-love and self-appreciation of their bodies, and don't be afraid to start, because even if you start later in life, it's always going to help you further on. And just, I think what I said is a good trick. It may be difficult, but just try to always picture one thing that you love about yourself every day, even if it's the tiniest thing. It doesn't have to be to do with your appearance. It could be something that you did today, or something that you're proud of that you achieved, or anything. But just something that you're proud that you did today. And doing that every day will definitely help with your self-confidence. And hopefully it will make you a bit more appreciative of your body and what it actually does. Because I think that's something that we all underestimate, is how our body works so hard for us to do what we do. And especially, well, I still do that even on my bad days. I still feel really angry at my body, but I've got to try and remember that my body works so hard to do what it does. So it's allowed to have bad days because it worked hard. So I feel like I've gone on a bit of a rant, but I hope you enjoyed episode 2. Remember to subscribe and like and follow and all that jazz. And if you want to see more of me, I'm on TikTok and Instagram, where I share a very opposite side of my life. But yeah, go follow, and I hope you enjoy. And I love you all, and I'll see you in episode 3.